What's going on, everybody? I'm Average Joe. Welcome to another Average video. Today's video, we are going to be doing a capacity test and possibly a full send test on the big MFer right here. This is the literally the biggest battery I have in my house right now. It's probably the biggest battery in the world. Okay, probably not the biggest, but it's pretty darn close. So this right here is the MB56 Yixiang battery box right here, and it's just a monster. Alrighty, fast forward a couple of days and we have this big bad MFer all charged up. I did figure out the password and it was all 8s. Okay, so if you want to see what we have on the screen here, I did change some of the settings to match the Mrs. Average Joe Yixiang battery. Currently, we are sitting at 57.85 volts and our cell delta is hovering around 7 to 8 millivolts, which is fan-freaking-tastic. Cycle capacity is at 0, so whenever we do our capacity test on this, which we're about to do, we'll see what it shows up on here versus the BOOM shunt over there. I don't know if I trust the BOOM shunt anymore, but it's really all I have that's kind of easy to use. And if you want to see the settings, like I said, I matched most of these with Mrs. Average Joe's battery. It's all basically the same, I'm pretty sure, except for since this is the first time charging it up, I did change a couple of the numbers in here so we could allow it to go all the way up to the top. That would be the voltage cell RCV, that is set for 3.645. The one below that is 644. Yeah, just stuff like that, just so we could fully charge and top balance the battery. There was a few settings down here for the continued charge current. That one was set for 200. I originally changed it to 300 because this has a 300 amp BMS in there. But after talking with Yixiang, they said basically leave it at 200. That's for the charge current. In the little manual, it does say you can go up to 250. So I guess if we need to, we might be able to change that one. And then right below that, the continued discharge current that was set for 200. And I was looking in the manual and it says the max continuous, like sustained, is 250, which you think it would be 300, but maybe it's just other stuff in here that only allows 250 amps. But I think there's a little bit of leeway with those numbers right there. And I think that's pretty much all I changed. I don't think I changed anything else down here. Okay, the other thing I did is I changed the name to Big MFer because it's a big MFer. Anyway, what we're gonna do next is push this big bad MFer over there to the test area and do our first capacity test. And when we do that, we'll do a 0.2 C rate and we'll do, this says it's 628 amp hours, so we're gonna go 628 times 0.2. So our 0.2 C rate is gonna be around 125.6 amps. We'll try to get close to that and then let it go. Yesterday we did reach 100% state of charge on my battery bank over there, so I basically turned everything on, the dryer, the water heater, air conditioning, and I think Lauren was using the stove for a little bit too, just so we could drain down the power so we can still shove, you know, the 33, 34, however many kilowatt hour this is gonna be into my battery bank over there. But I guess the first test is to see how well it rolls. It might be a little tricky to steer, but it actually rolls really good. Yeah, it rolls really, really good. And we'll get you right into position. Lock down the wheels so it can't roll away from us. Alrighty, I got everything hooked up, so behold the setup. We're sitting at 100% state of charge, 57.74 volts. From the battery, we do have the BOOM shunt hooked up right there, so I will put that up on the screen. From there, we are going up to the 12,000 watt Lux Power hybrid inverter, and then we are outputting to this small sub panel right here. The reason I need that is because I need the 240 volts, so we can power the two L1430 plugs right here, which go to the EG4 charge inverter and the eco-worthy charger. So the plan is to basically full send the EG4 charge inverter, and then we will make up the rest with the eco-worthy charger right here. And I have also hooked up the JK BMS software to the laptop over here so we can take a look at that as well. All right, taking a look at the BOOM shunt right now. We're sitting at 57.77 volts. I did load this with the 628 amp hours in the settings, even though we're probably gonna get more than that. And I've also cleared out the history, so we should be good to go there. Alrighty, so let's get started. First thing we're gonna do is go over here, turn on the battery breakers, turn on the load breaker, boom. Come down here and flip on the EG4 charge inverter, and then the eco-worthy charger. Boom, capacity test has started. Time now is 9:52 a.m. Once we get up to 125 amps, I will pop back in here. All right, we're gonna take a look at the JK BMS software on the computer. This is basically brand new to me. I literally just hooked it up just to make sure it works. All right, 52.03 volts, 125 amps, so almost exactly a 0.2 C, and that equates to 6,500 watts. All right, so I would say we're looking pretty good so far. Time now is 9:57 a.m. and this test should run for roughly 5 hours. All right, so that is the JK BMS software. I'll let this run for just a couple more minutes. We're gonna take a look at the other things here now. All right, if we take a quick look at the boom shunt, we've been running for a couple of minutes here. We're sitting at 121.3 amps, which is pretty close to the JK BMS. I'm gonna leave it for now. We're running 6,300 watts on here. So what I'm gonna do next is throw the clamp meter on the positive wire over here to see what that shows. And I don't know if you can see it or not. It's showing 127.4 versus what this is showing, 121.4. And the JK is showing almost 125 even, okay? So we're all just a few amps above or a few amps below. You decide on which one's gonna be the most accurate. All right, this is gonna run for like 5 hours, so I will be right back.
5.
Okay, so we are still running. Time now is 2:42 p.m. And if we take a look at the boom shunt right here, we have 4% left. And that kind of goes off of the amp hour that was plugged in here, which was 628, 12 minutes left. Possibly. We're still drawing 6,300 watts. And if we scroll over to the history, we have consumed 595 amp hour. Holy crap. Or 30.6 kilowatt hour. Holy freaking crap. That is amazing. We've been running for 4 hours and 52 minutes. Our voltage right now is 49, so we are getting kind of close. What I'll do next is I'll bring it to the front of the battery if you want to see the screen, and then we will hop over to the JK BMS software. All right, looking at the screen here, the JK BMS screen, it's showing 2% left, 49.94 volts. Remaining capacity is 11.9 amp hour. We got our cell voltages right here, min and max, and I could go over here if you want to see those, but we'll see it better on the JK BMS software. Alrighty, over here on the JK BMS software, you look right up here, we're still doing 131 amps right now. Voltage is 49.89. On here, it's showing 6,560 watts being drawn from the battery. Our cell delta right now is 44 millivolts, which I think is fan-freaking-tastic at this low of a voltage. So we don't have too much time left. 1% capacity according to this right over here. Remaining capacity is 8.5 amp hour. I need to pull up this little chair, have something to sit on. There we go. Yeah, this little screen is pretty cool. We can do all sorts of stuff in here, it looks like. Settings, control, I like it. Okay, so interesting, if you look at this, the cycle capacity is showing 625 amp hours. On the boom shunt, we're showing 607, which makes sense because the boom shunt shows a little bit less amps or watts being drawn from the battery.
A few moments later.
All right, we're getting down to the very, very bottom. If we start at the JK BMS software, we're sitting at 47.6 volts. We're drawing 138 amps or 6,600 watts. The cycle capacity count on here right now is 640 7 amp hours. Cell number 8 is going to be our lowest at 2.826, and maybe cell 13 is going to be our highest at 3.078. And we're still going strong. If we take a look at the BOOM shunt, it just actually reached 628 amp hour, 629 amp hour, or 32.3 kilowatt hour. So I don't know which one you want to say is more accurate or correct. I'll let you guys decide. We've been running for 5 hours and 8 minutes, still showing 47 volts on the BOOM shunt. This is absolutely amazing. But I'm starting to question the accuracy of the BOOM shunt because it just seems like it is quite off, actually. The clamp meter that I put on the battery earlier kind of was a little closer to the JK BMS. But this is absolutely amazing. I've got almost permagrin this entire time because this is just unbelievable. 650 amp hours. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. So whatever the cycle capacity is on the JK right up here in the top center, this is the capacity that I am going to set inside the settings to match everything correctly. All right, we're gonna get 660. 660, come on, get it. 660, 660. 660 amp hours. And we're getting ready to shut off right now. Cell delta is 462 millivolts. Here we go. Oh, still going. All right, there it goes. Alrighty, our grand total, according to the JK BMS, is 660.6 amp hours. Cell number 8 was the culprit of shutting us off at 2.5 volts. If we take a look at the BOOM shunt, we did 641 amp hour, or 32.8 kilowatt hour. All right, well, this is absolutely astonishing, and I am just blown away. So what I'm going to put inside the JK BMS is 660 amp hours for my new amp hour setting, and I am going to do that 660. We'll send it. I'll have to do another capacity test again, which that'll be okay. We're gonna do a kind of like a full send test, be around 250 amps. If I can do that, that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, what I'm gonna do now is recharge this back up, and I'll be right back.
Tomorrow.
Alrighty, it is the very next day. We have the battery charged up, and if you're here for the full send test of the MB56 Yixiang battery, you have come to the right place. We're sitting at 100% state of charge. I did go in here and adjust the capacity to 640 just to give us hopefully a little bit more accurate runtime, stuff like that. Yesterday we got 641 amp hours, or 32.8 kilowatt hour. I don't know how much we're going to get today because today is more of just like a full send test. It's not really a capacity test, although that'll be a secondary benefit. Anyway, we're going to reset the history right here so we can have that all set up for whenever we start the test. The next thing we can look at real quick, if you want to, I don't really know if you want to or not, but we can take a look at the JK BMS. And on the JK BMS screen, you can see over here, we are sitting at 100% state of charge, and I did change the capacity in here as well for 660 amp hours. So hopefully that is set up correctly, and I guess we'll just see how it goes. Anyway, we're sitting at 57.4 volts. Average cell voltage right now is 3.58 volts. The highest right now is cell number 10 at 3.591. Lowest is cell number 2 at 3.584. And our cell differential is 7 millivolts, so we are sitting fan-freaking-tastic. All right, whenever we're doing our full send test, we are going to do some temperature readings. So right now I'm just going to get like a baseline of what it is right now. It's been sitting basically overnight, so it should be fairly cold. We'll take those temperatures and just take a mental note, and then we will start the test. So in this test, we're going to attempt to get up to 250 amps, and maybe even a little bit higher. But we'll find out. But first things first, let's take a temperature reading. I did pull out all the screws ahead of time. Oh shit, I forgot about that one. All right, so we do have to take a look at this because my little Seek thermal that I had for my phone is the wrong connection for my new phone. So we have to look at this. So I'll be reading off the number that's right up here. If I just point it right in the center, we're sitting at 75 to 76 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? 77, 79, 78, 78. This bus bar right here is 75 degrees right through here. On the other side, we're sitting at 72, and the big circuit breaker is sitting at 71.5. The fuse right in the center is sitting at 74. So that's showing 70 on that bus bar down there. Okay, so I'm just gonna say an average of 74 degrees in here. All right, we're gonna get this party started. Let me show you exactly everything that we're going to be doing. Alrighty, so we have the MB56 Yixiang battery right here. We're going up to the Lux Power hybrid inverter. From there, we're going to, I shoved it right underneath there. It's a little sub panel because we need 240 volts because we need these two L1430s. And we're going through the charge inverter and the eco-worthy charger there. But wait, there's more. I also have the HumSync 15 amp charger right here, and that is connected right up on this battery right here, which of course is in parallel with all of these. And then if we need to, I brought over this charger right here, which we can adjust up to 20 amps. And a good portion of the test, I am gonna leave the lid on because that's how you would normally use it. So whatever the heat that is in there, you know, is what's gonna be in there. So I am going to set over the little epoxy board on top, and then I'm just going to place the lid on top because I also need a place for my laptop. Okay, let's get this party started. Okay, we're going to flip on battery circuit breaker for the inverter. Boom, there we go. Flipping on the output. Boom, there we go. Next is going to be the EG4 charge inverter. We'll turn that on. We're going to full send this, and we're also going to full send the eco-worthy charger right here. And once those are up and running, we'll see where we're at, and then we will add on another charger. Both chargers are at full send. If we take a look at the BOOM shunt right now, it's showing 185 amps or 9,600 watts. If we take a look at the JK BMS software, on here we're showing 190 amps. And actually, if we take a look at this one right here, I don't know if it'll show up in camera, but this one's showing 193.6, which is a little closer than the BOOM shunt right here at 185. So I don't know, I'm gonna go with the JK or this one right here. We're kind of in between. Now what we're gonna do is plug in the HumSync charger. All right, now we're at 205, 206 on the BOOM shunt. We take a look at the JK BMS, we're up to 212. I think we can get that a little bit higher. So I will plug in my adjustable charger, and we're gonna plug him in right here. Now I'm going to raise the amps. I'll do 10 amps real quick. All right, now I got 10 amps on that charger. Still only showing 206. Oh, there we go. Hit the wrong button. Now we're at 220 on the BOOM shunt, 227 on the JK BMS, and this one right here showing 230. So 230, 227, 220 down here. Wow, that's like 7 amps off or 10 amps off depending on what we look at. Okay, I'm gonna let this run for 5-10 minutes where we're sitting right now, and then we will just check the temperatures. So right now time is 9:43. We'll check it at 9:53. All right, time now is 9:52. We're almost at 10 minutes. Let's go ahead and take a temperature reading. Just over the center of the pack, it's showing 77 degrees Fahrenheit, but I'll bring it in a little closer and read them off to you. Cell 16 right on top is 83, 84 degrees. If I go to the bus bar, showing 112. Now we're looking at the fuse. We're doing 182. 183 degrees right in the center, and then the bus bar right afterwards is 149, and we'll check the bus bar right here on the top of the circuit breaker. We're showing 130 degrees. All right, now I'm looking down below if I can get it on there. That's the negative terminal. We're showing 110, 111 degrees on the bus bar down there. Anything else that goes right to the BMS, it's probably not accurate, but we're showing 89, 90 degrees. This is the side of the DC circuit breaker. It's showing just 82 degrees. A little warmer spot down there around 100. So the circuit breaker, I would say, is doing really, really good. The hottest points in here right now, of course, are going to be the fuse, 185 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, next we'll check some voltage drop. So from bus bar to bus bar, or bus bar to fuse, that is 10.37 millivolts. And then the fuse by itself, 83.7 millivolts. And then from this bus bar to the circuit breaker is 15.5. And if you want to do all together, it's around 109.6 millivolts. What do you say we raise it up just a tad? So on the boom shunt, it's showing 221, but on the JK software, we're showing 229.8. So I'm gonna raise it up. We're at 10 amps. I'm gonna go to 15 and see where we're at. On JK, we got 237.2, and it's kind of moving around a little bit. So 229 versus 237. So that's like 8 amps different. And if we wanna check with this one again, which I believe is pretty accurate, that one's showing 239.6. So it's closer to the JK at 237. So there you go. I would say we're doing pretty good, except the fuse is pretty warm. Should we raise it up just a smidge more? We'll go to 20 on this one, which is the max, and I don't know how long it'll let me do that. I've burned out a fuse doing that before. So on the boom shot, we're doing 237. On the JK, we're doing 245, 246. So that's actually real close right over here. It's like a half of an amp difference. And if we want to take a look at the JK BMS software, right up here we're doing 245, 246 amps, 12,750 watts from the battery. Holy crap, that is amazing. Hopefully I don't blow anything up. All right, so cell delta right now is 28 millivolts, and it's probably fine. I mean, we've got a pretty big load on here. Lowest cell is number 9 at 3.225, and cell 13, I don't know why. Cell 13's not showing up. Uh-oh, cell 13's not showing up on the app. I don't know, let me check on the Bluetooth app and see what it does in here. The big MFer. Okay, it does show up on here, so maybe it's just a color difference on the screen over there. So cell number 13 is going to be the highest at 3.251. 12,700 watts from this freaking battery. Crazy. All right, we raised it up just a little bit. It's been maybe 4 or 5 minutes, so we check the temperatures again. Might as well, right? Top of the cell 16 right now is at 85 degrees. We go over to the bus bar right here, showing 124 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, and we take a look at the fuse right here. Ooh, 204, almost 205 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty warm. The other side of the bus bar is 166, showing around 120 degrees Fahrenheit. If I go over to that little hot spot is 124 degrees. So the bus bars, where they go in and out of the battery, are not too bad. It's mainly just the fuse right here. 206 to 207 degrees Fahrenheit. Seems to be holding there right now, so we'll just let it go. And if you want to see what the inverter's pulling right here, it is 11.1 kilowatt. All from one battery, 247 amps, or 11.1 kilowatt on the inverter. That is freaking insane. And I think we can go higher, but I don't know how much higher I want to go, because I'm just kind of thinking about that fuse right there. Should I put the cover back on so it's more real? I think I should. All right, I put the cover back on. Time now is 10:12. A little bit later, time now is 11:08 p.m. Boom shunt saying 44% state of charge. Still drawing 12,000 watts according to this, and we have consumed 355 amp hour, or 18.3 kilowatt hour. If I look on here, we're actually drawing around 250 amps, so I am going to lower it down a little bit. Yeah, I might have to lower it down a little bit, because I think inside the BMS settings it might be set for 250 amps. So I am going to lower it down just a couple, but before I do that, I am going to give you some temperature readings. I'm just going to read them off to you, so it'll be a little easier. So the bus bar coming off of cell 16 is 140. If I go down to the fuse, it's still doing 235, 236. And then the bus bar right after it, 192 degrees Fahrenheit. So the bus bar went up just a couple of degrees, maybe 5 degrees, but I think the fuse temperature is kind of staying the same. I can still grab onto the battery cables up here so those aren't too hot. Okay, I'm gonna lower it down just a few amps. Okay, I lowered it down 5 amps on my little adjustable charger. That brought us down to 242. Okay, and then if we want to look at the boom shunt amps for this one, dropped it down to 232. So that's 10 amps difference. That's crazy. If you want to take a look at the JK BMS software real quick, we're sitting at 51.37 volts, drawing 242 amps or 12,430 watts, somewhere around there. Cell delta is 26 millivolts, so we're still doing really, really good. Cell number 9 is our weakest right now at 3.192. Cell 16 right now at 3.219. So 16 and 13 are our highest cells right now. If you want to see all the temperatures, of course, they're all listed right through here. And yeah, I don't really know what else to show you until the next time I pop in here. 42% state of charge. Alrighty, we're getting down to the very, very bottom end. We'll start with the boom shunt right here. It's showing 10% state of charge, 16 minutes if it's accurate, doing 239 amps or 11,900 watts on here. Again, if you want to see that, we've consumed 564 amp hour or 28.8 kilowatt hour. Now we'll switch over to the JK BMS. All right, taking a look at the JK BMS software. On here, we're showing 11% state of charge, 50 volts, and we're drawing 248 amps from the battery, or 12,000, roughly 500. Our cell delta is 28 to 30 millivolts, and number 9 is still our lowest one at 3.114. Highest is cell 16 at 3.143. Still doing fan-freaking-tastic. And there you go. Next thing we'll do real quick is we will take a look at some temperature readings. If you want to see real quick the amp draw on here, we're sitting at 249.3, which is pretty much on par with the JK BMS. Okay, I'm just gonna read these off to you so I don't have to keep it all in focus all the time, but cell 16 right on the top is 105 degrees Fahrenheit. We move to the bus bar right here, we're at 148, 150 degrees Fahrenheit. Just a little bit lower on the bend, we're doing 166. Move over to the fuse, we're still running at 235, 236. Move over to the bus bar over here, we're doing 195.7 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm gonna peek over to the breaker, that's showing 120, basically right in the center. You wanna see this bus bar by this terminal, 170 degrees Fahrenheit. And if we try to peek down below to that bus bar, we're doing around 130 degrees Fahrenheit. If I go back just a little bit further to the terminal, at least the plastic part, 132 degrees. So not too bad. I do feel heat coming off of here, but nothing, you know, it's not too bad. Yeah, 99, 98, 95 in the back, 95 in the back. So it's just warmer up here in the front due to all the bus bars and stuff right up here. And I can still grab onto the battery cables as well. 8% left on there. I'm going to swap out the batteries on the camera so I don't miss the end. All right, boom shunt is showing 2% left. We're at 49.19 volts on here, 49.49 volts on the JK. So we have 3 minutes left at 2% on here, 614 amp hour, 31.3 kilowatt hour. And if we take a look at the JK software, we're at 3% state of charge, 49.39 volts, 248 amps, 12,260 watts. coming out of the battery. Amazing. Cell differentials at 74 millivolts, and I would imagine, of course, that's going to climb the further we go down. So here in just a minute, I am going to lower the amp draw again. While I'm doing this, I'm just going to keep an eye on the temperatures down here. Fuse is at 232 degrees. The bus bar is at 180 degrees. Back of the circuit breaker is 127. Okay, going to drop it down just a little bit, back down to 247. Boom shunt showing 1%, 1 minute, 623 amp hour, 31.8 kilowatt hour. Still got 13 amp hour left according to the JK. Oh, 250 amps, I gotta lower it down again. Just gotta keep an eye on that one. 2% left. All right, cell delta is up to 162 millivolts right now. Cell number 8. Cell 16 is still at 3.077. I'm gonna have to lower the amps down again. And I hope the video from the webcam on this laptop is okay enough to be on here. If it's not, tell me, let me know down in the comment section and I won't do that anymore. This is the first time I'm doing it. 6.6 amp hours left. Cell delta, 217 millivolts and climbing. I'm gonna let it go from there. I just turned off the adjustable power supply. All right, we're down to the very, very end. 1% left, 47 volts, 243 amps, 11,430 watts from the battery. This is amazing. Cell delta is 297 millivolts, 6.6 amp hours left. Cell number 8 is at 2.7 volts, which is the lowest, and cell 15 is now the highest at 3.010. Boom shunt is showing 639 amp hour or 32.5 kilowatt hour so far. Hopefully it shuts off before it goes over 250 for too long, because I don't really want to pull another charger off, although I technically could. Boom shunt is showing 244 amps. Oh, we're at 254. Hopefully it doesn't shut down. Should I pull off a charger or should I just let it go? I'm just gonna let it go. Gonna check the temperature over here. Still at 235 on the fuse. All right, we're at 258 amps. It's gonna be any time. Got 2 volts. Hopefully the BMS doesn't shut us off. All right, here we go. Alrighty, there we go. So cell number 8 shut us off at 2.5 volts. All right, so on the boom shunt, we got 646 amp hour, 32.8 kilowatt hour. Holy freaking cow. I'm not sure, this doesn't technically show me how many amp hours we got on here, but this is absolutely amazing. Maybe I can look at the numbers before whenever we first started and I can figure it out. But anyway, voltage is slowly coming back up. I'm gonna turn some stuff off so it won't automatically start turning on. Alrighty, well there you go. There's the full send capacity test from 100% all the way down to 0% state of charge at roughly 250 amps, full send all the way. 646 amp hours according to the boom shunt, or 32.8 kilowatt hour. We ran for 2 hours and 48 minutes. Man, so basically what this means is you can use one of these batteries to run your entire house, run it full throttle the entire time, and not have a problem. Of course, if you run it at 12,000 watts, you only get a couple hours runtime, but if you just run it normally, you know, you're pulling like 1,000 to 1,500 watts, you know, constantly, and maybe a little bit less at nighttime. I mean, you could really get by with just one of these batteries. Amazing. Boom. Fast forward a couple of days, and I'm gonna go over just all the results that basically happened through the entire video, because I know most people skip over all the good stuff. All right, so anyway, first one was a 0.2C capacity test, which was around 125, 126 amps. I used 1-aught battery cables because I'm sure somebody will ask. On the boom shunt, we got 641 amp hour or 32.8 kilowatt hour. If we go by the JKBMS, it's technically calculated because this doesn't give me kilowatt hour. So we got 660.6 amp hours for that first run. And then I just did 660 times 51.2 volts because that's the nominal voltage. And we got a calculated 33.79 kilowatt hour. So basically 1 more kilowatt hour versus the BOOM shunt. That test ran for 5 hours and 13 minutes. And then we also had a couple other things I took note of was the cell differential at the end. It was 436 millivolt cell differential at the very, very bottom end. Basically cell number 8 hit 2.5 volts, which, you know, cut everything off. Okay, and then the very next test was a full send test. It wasn't technically a capacity test, but it was kind of like a secondary bonus. Full send test was anywhere from 240 to 250 amps. I just tried to keep it under 250 the entire time with the exact same 1-aught battery cables. On the BOOM shunt, we got 646 amp hour, which is 5 more amp hour than the previous test, but we got the exact same kilowatt hour of 32.8. Okay, and then for the JKBMS, again, this is also calculated. And for this one, basically, I use I showed it earlier on the screen and how I came up with what I did, but I took the calculated battery capacity, which was technically both tests, and I subtracted the previous test, which was 660.6. I subtracted that from that entire total, and I got 668.6 amp hours. So then I did 668 times 51.2 volts nominal, and we got 34.20 kilowatt hour, which is 1 more kilowatt hour than previously. So I think it did actually really, really well for the full send test, even though it wasn't technically a capacity test. I think it did fan-freaking-tastic, and I think we got just a smidge more because everything was nice and warm. The cell differential at the bottom of that test was 467 millivolts. Again, cell number 8 hit 2.5, so it cut everything off. So it was pretty close for both tests at the very, very bottom. All right, so of course we did some other things, which I forgot to write down in my notes, was the voltage drop. I don't remember what that was, so if you need to see it again, just rewind the video and hit play again. But I did write down all the temperatures and all that kind of stuff. So before the test started, the average basically all over was anywhere from 74 to 76 degrees Fahrenheit. And then later on towards the end of the test, where everything was nice and hot and kind of leveled out, the cells towards the end, which would be in the very, very back, those were around 95 degrees Fahrenheit. And then the ones right up here towards the front were around 105 degrees Fahrenheit, basically because everything up here gets pretty warm. The bus bar right off of cell number 16, which is right up here, was 150 degrees Fahrenheit, and then just a little bit lower where the bends and stuff were, it was 166 degrees Fahrenheit. The fuse was going to be the hottest, and we got around 236 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't think I saw it go much higher than that, but whenever I lowered the amps just a little bit, the temperature would also go down just a smidge. So I'm pretty sure the average temperature of the fuse was 236. Bus bar after the fuse was 194. The breaker was around 120, basically right in the center. I know there was 2 little hot spots, basically where the bus bars were connect. I didn't really check those. And then down here below where the negative bus bar is, down here, that was around 130 degrees. And then the actual terminal on the inside was 132. So pretty close to the same temperatures. And yeah, that was pretty much it. I think it did fan-freaking-tastic. You guys can be the judge. That's why these videos are so long, because I show you basically everything so you can decide for yourself. Next thing would be the price for this entire battery. It is $3,599, and that is for a complete battery. Now, one thing I would suggest if you are getting this, I would suggest the rolly cart down below. Now, the rolly cart that I'm using is actually from the version 2 of the Yixiang battery. It's actually Mrs. Average Joe's. That's the 316 amp hour battery. This rolly cart is like 1.5 inches shorter than this battery, but it does work. But they do have one that's actually for the MB56 cell. The shorter one that I have down here is $199, and the one that technically fits this is $209. I also mentioned in the last video that I would suggest getting the DIY version of this box, because if you have to bring it inside, you know, you can just bring it wherever you're going to use it and then build it right there. I looked on their website and I didn't actually see the DIY box for this. I did send them a message saying that I didn't see it on their website, and I know some of you guys are interested. I'm pretty sure they had it previously, but I just didn't see it on there anyway. So I asked them a question, you know, what's up with that, if it's going to be back or if it's available. And once I get the response, it's probably not going to be quickly, because it's kind of on a weekend right now. I'll just post that down in the description down below. And that's pretty much it. I guess if anybody has any questions, comments, or concerns, or if you saw something that I missed, or maybe I, you know, completely forgot something, make sure you put that down in the comment section. And I guess if there's anything else that you would like to see done with this battery, make sure you put that down there as well. If anybody's looking for the MB56, at least the completed battery right now, of course, I'm gonna have those links down below. And then finally, of course, if this video is helpful in any way, make sure you like that smash button on your way out, because it does help. And I will see you on the next. Alrighty, for those of you that like to see cats, here's one right here. Where you going, Sasha? You gonna help me? No? Come here. Come here. Where are you going? Up there? Okay. Hey, crazy girl, where are you going? Where are you going? Phew.